Hello and welcome to this DC Velocity webcast, enabling next-day delivery with warehouse automation. I'm Dave Maloney, the editorial director at DC Velocity. Thanks for joining us. Today's pressure to deliver orders next day is challenging how distribution centers pick and fulfill orders. Retailers and 3PLs are already investing in automated storage and retrieval systems, and more recently, goods-to-person technologies to automated robotic fulfillment systems in order to keep up with demand and stay profitable. In this webinar, experts from the Murata Group of Companies, Murata Machinery USA, and Cimcorp will take a closer look at the challenges faced in order fulfillment. They will showcase the group's proven technologies and discuss how other industries have benefited from automating. They will also offer you a glimpse into the future and present insights on how combined technologies benefit retailers, improving speed of delivery and overcoming today's toughest operational challenges. We have just a few announcements as we begin today. First, here are some tips to help you connect and participate in the webcast. This webcast is designed to be interactive between you and our presenters, so later in the program we'll have a question and answer session to allow you to ask our presenters questions relevant to the topics that are discussed today. You can participate in the Q&A session by asking questions at any time during the webcast. You don't have to wait for the very end to get your questions to us. Whenever they occur to you, just type your question into the text box that's located on the bottom left of the console. Hit the Submit Question button, and we'll get to as many of those questions during our presentation as we possibly can. The slides will advance automatically throughout the event. If slides are not advancing, please press the F5 key or Control-R on your keyboard to refresh your console. And we recommend that you disable any of your pop-up blockers. If you're experiencing any technical problems, please visit our webcast help guide by clicking on the help link that's below the media player. And here on the screen, you now see an agenda of what we'll be covering. So let's get right to it. Allow me to introduce our presenters today, Jason Stahl and Derek Ricard. Jason is the sales manager for Murata Machinery USA, and Derek is the director of sales North America at Cimcorp Automation. Welcome, gentlemen. It's great to have you with us. I will now turn the stage over to Jason, who will begin today's presentation. Jason?
Yeah, I want to start with going over the Murata Group. The Murata Group has been in business for a little over 80 years, started in 1935. As a global organization, have roughly over 34,000 plus installations globally installed, with some of those systems been in installation for over 25 years. Our business is improving material flow and accelerating your competitive edge. I mean, that's what we're going to focus on today, is how automation can help your business from a next day delivery and from a growth or scalability standpoint. And we use a consultative approach to look at the application to really develop, define, and suggest the correct equipment or technology for your application to meet the challenges and needs of your business. So looking at, kind of peeling back that onion a little bit and looking into fulfillment today, on average, what used to take an hour now could take up to 3, which is a challenge. When customers want it faster, they want it quicker, they want it more accurate, more than ever. So those challenges, include multiple order fulfillment channels, a lot of different items in the same facility, not just as many brick and mortar locations as used to be, accelerated inventory turns, and order and returns management are more complex than ever. And one of the bigger challenges is adding staff or labor to handle online fulfillment and or picking tasks or other tasks within the business. So we're going to focus on some solutions to help with improving the inventory management and flow, operational efficiency, and optimizing handling and picking processes. So we're going to start with inbound and outbound solutions specific to transportation of materials. Some common applications are receiving area, cross-docking, going from receiving it, just storing it temporarily, and then dispersing it to a variety of locations. A real big challenge is returns handling, and then replenishment as a receiving to a picking area or moving material from bulk storage to picking or processing or something like that. One of the things we certainly want to remember as we move forward is optimizing processes, really how to get the most out of the process, out of the facility, out of the labor force that you already have. So our first technology or solution that we want to talk about is AGVs. So thinking a little bit about AGVs and where they've come over the years, you can really put an AGV anywhere where a manual operation is currently being completed. Some of those applications include loading or unloading a trailer, which would help with receiving or cross-docking, block stacking, which could be warehouse, it could be production, it could be raw materials, a lot of variety of blocks, a lot of variety of applications when it comes to multiple stacking on the floor. Could utilize for pallet rack, carts, multiple stacks, very high lift, virtually any application moving material. An AGV could certainly be an option. Now, there are some considerations when you think about an AGV, right? Do they have flexible load types? Do you have flexible load types? Does the vehicle work with flexible load types? What sort of battery scenario do you need in your facility? And then what sort of lift height do you need with lifts up to almost 38 feet? And now there are some key considerations to think about when you're thinking about an AGV. What's the travel distance? If you have a lot of distance between picking locations or storage locations, that should be a key consideration for you. And then how fast you need to move material. So those two key considerations would really help you to determine could an AGV be a right solution for your application. But with that, there's a lot of benefits that come with AGVs. Probably one of the most important is repurpose that hard to find labor to do other value-added jobs within your facility. When we talk about next day delivery, we talk about eliminating errors, eliminating damage, having available people, right? So an AGV doesn't take days off, doesn't have holidays or vacations. It's going to always pick and place without damage or error to product or to facilities. And then it's also very scalable, it's a future-proof technology in the sense that it's very scalable. As your business grows, additional vehicles can be added to the fleet. So then kicking this a little bit further into moving materials, depending upon the throughputs and the speeds, as we talked about, a rail-mounted solution could be the right technology, where the rail-mounted solution offers sorting and transportation. You can do very heavy loads. You can do light loads. You can do a large volume of SKUs and or very small orders. And you can integrate it easily with existing material movement technologies. Some considerations to think about with rail is, do you have the floor space available to mount a fixed object on the floor, unlike the AGV where there isn't necessarily an infrastructure needed? What's the footprint for moving materials? Is it side to side? Is it left to right? Is it around a corner? All right, so what is that footprint where you need to go from material to material? And then again, what are the throughput requirements? Some basic benefits with rail, similar to the AGVs, but you do have load flexibility. The rail-mounted can help with a long distance of transport with very rapid high speed as well. And you can get higher throughput rates with a rail-guided vehicle than you can get with the AGV vehicle. So taking this a little bit deeper, we want to talk about storage when it comes to your strategies, the future, your growth, and areas of automation improvement within your facility. So some locations where we see automation being a benefit is if you're creating rainbow pallets to ship out to your customers or distribution centers, if you're doing a mixed case fulfillment, or you have a goods to person picking process. So we're going to start with high density storage. So high density storage traditionally is for heavy loads, generally on pallets, doesn't have to be a pallet, but we're talking more pallet load, bulk storage, raw material, finished goods, some sort of load in that profile. And those applications could be new, could be an existing facility. Where this automation typically makes sense is when you want to take advantage of height, that your traditional manual options are limited. If you have a large volume of storage, if you have a large forklift fleet moving your pallet, your work in process, or your raw material, multi-shift, 24/7 shift, 365 shifts, multiple shift, multiple days, and also adaptability into virtually any climate, all the way down and including refrigerated or even frozen environments. So one thing when you think about high density storage, there are some considerations when it comes to what's the right fit for your application. Do you need single or double deep racking? Do you need flexibility in your load, height, width, weight? Do you need to add a case picking on the front end where the pallet is delivered to a cell that then it gets depalletized and ready for picking? This technology offers a variety of benefits. One, optimizing your process really allows for some process optimization, as well as efficiencies with everything in one area, delivering what you want when you want it. A large focus on cubic space optimization, so not having available space above traditional racking, being able to utilize all the way up to 100 feet and optimizing that space. You can have some significant energy savings. Not only is the crane of the high density storage energy efficient, but you can do a lights out application as well. You can follow very strict FIFO rules when it comes to first in, first out, pallet, or even case level. Can eliminate damage. I mean, damage can be a huge issue with a lot of pallet movement through facilities. And then in addition with the transportation solutions, repurpose that labor that's moving pallets around to do other value-added roles within your facility. So we're going to switch gears over to applications that would be a case or a tote from a material storage standpoint. And the first one we're going to focus on is our shuttle system. Now, a shuttle system, a couple things to think about. Some key considerations are volume. Do you have a lot of volume or a lot of SKUs or a mixture of sizes? Again, volume is a key consideration, as well as footprint. Are you trying to fit a lot of storage in a relatively small footprint versus scattered amongst an entire facility that you may have now. So some common applications for shuttle storage. As I mentioned, a facility with limited height, absolutely. It could be a very high daily volume if you need a lot moved quickly and consistently. Multiple shifts or multiple picking team. So if you've got a team of individuals walking through a facility 24 hours a day, shuttle storage could be the right technology. And if you're creating rainbow pallets, so one of the best applications for a shuttle is a lot of cases or totes in to a palletizing cell that's making some sort of a rainbow or full pallet outbound to your customer or distribution centers. So when you're thinking about a shuttle system, also some considerations to think about when it comes to when you're looking at your facility. Would a single, double, or even maybe a triple deep scenario or racking be appropriate for you? Do you need free case load size? Do you have consistent loads? Do you have random loads? Do you have a variety? Do you have a lot of different loads? Do you need flexibility in the inbound and outbound? Do you need your process flow to come in from the right and go out from the bottom? Do you need it to be straight through? How do you need the layout to flow for your facility? And as far as, when I would talk about high volume, shuttles can go up to 2,400 per hour, an extremely high volume in and out. Certainly some benefits with this, not only is it can be an integrated storage and picking solution combined as one solution, but cubic space optimization can have precise sequencing when it comes to production in, palletizing, or picking out, can eliminate errors and damage, and repurpose that picking team to do a more value-added role within your facility. So we want to highlight one other technology when it comes to storage solutions, and this one also is case and or tote storage. Unlike the shuttle, it is a stacker crane technology. So the applications are similar, but a little bit different. So you still have that free size capability. Maybe you have a variety of sizes or you have a mixture of cases and totes. You certainly might have a need to move 1, 2, or even 4 items at the same time to really help with your picking flows or to, with next day deliveries, getting 4 out at a time versus 1 with a traditional automation or what picking individuals can do individually. Maybe you have high throughput. So some things to think about with a stacker crane case or tote storage. Single or double racking. We've mentioned that multiple times. Really, how can we get the most density in your footprint? Do you have flexible load types where you need a system to move a variety of different things? Do you need to add case picking to the front of your system? So any of our solutions have the ability to offer stationary picking areas where the operator stands still, all of the materials delivered to them to provide optimization, efficiency, really drive some next day delivery within your organization. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Derek.
I remember to take myself off mute. David said prior to this, 1 out of 6 times on these web meetings, people think they're on mute, but they're actually on mute. So I think I'm a little bit better than that, maybe 1 out of 10. But anyhow, I'm going to talk to you today about some of the Cimcorp solutions that particularly focus on fast delivery models. The solutions I'm going to show you are based on overhead gantry robot solutions. We're going to do some crate picking, goods to persons picking, and finally we're going to talk about some layer picking. So first up, crate picking. We call this product multi-pick. It's a solution that focuses on where customers have reusable plastic crates or totes or baskets, depending what industry you're in. You might call them something different. But essentially, we're creating mixed stacks that go on dollies or pallets, or there are floor-level stacks that go into the trailers. Most of the time, they're going to a retail shop. So think like bakeries or dairies, sometimes meat processing facilities, beverage, and the photo you see on the right there is produce. A lot of produce, often depending on the country, especially, is handled in plastic crates at the DC level, but then also retailed like that into the stores. Just to put some framework around this for what might be a suitable application for our customers, we like to say starting around, say, 5,000 crates a day would be a small kind of an application that might be able to have a suitable business case for a solution like this. And then all the way up to really sky's the limit, but 100,000 crates a day would be a very big operation. So those are sort of the constraints that we work with. Some equipment considerations here. Now that the end effector that we're using is designed specifically for each customer's crate. So it's not a solution that requires that you use a special tote that we provide you. Most cases we can handle the crate or the basket or the tote that the customer is working with. The grid, you'll see here, the grid is quite flexible. We can go about 300 feet long with one of these frames and about 45 feet wide, and anything smaller than that. A few different ways you can process orders to consider, depending on if this is a standalone distribution center or if it's hooked up to a production facility, for example. But one way to do it is to use this as your bulk storage. There's no other outside storage and racking, ASRS, what have you. We can take everything in from production, store it on the floor, and then use that inventory to then pick orders. Or if this is a standalone distribution center where you're receiving truckloads all day long, it can even be used to wave pick or opportunity pick is one term we use, where as soon as we have inventory to fulfill an order, that's got a dock location, we can pick it and move it straight to the system. Really not meant to be long-term storage. The system's been specifically set up as well, and this photo is a good reference to that, is how modular and scalable it can be. So right in this photo here, you're looking at an 8-robot, 2 modules. So depending on the type of velocity you've got going through the facility, I mentioned 5,000 cases a day at sort of the low end. That might be 2 robots on 1 frame. So it scales up quite nicely for the future as well. If something happens in the facility, you want to double the throughput, you can easily add modules and not impact the current operation. So we see some of the big benefits of this multi-pick solution as, again, sometimes it depends on what you're comparing it to, but the cubic space utilization can be extremely good. The previous photo showed how close stacks can be together on the floor, only enough room for a tool to slide over top of it, so about 4 inches around each stack, so very, very dense grid. Picking can be very precise, so we can pick each order in sequence for how you want it out on the dock doors, if that's how you want them picked. We guarantee no picking errors. The system is very gentle on the product, so should reduce damage. And even though we stack very, very close and tight on the floor, if there is an issue like a spill or something and you need to enter the cell, it's easy with the interface, the machine interface, to be able to clear a pathway to the spill and get in there and clean it up directly on the floor. There's no racking. The totes are stacked directly on the floor on top of each other. Okay, now using that same technology a little bit different way is a goods to person type system, using these same overhead robots with the same kind of tool that can go over top of a column and pick a crate. The solution that we're talking about here now we call 3D Shuttle, and imagine every crate in the grid there could be a different SKU. So every stack on the floor could have a different SKU in it. So this is our solution, the overhead gantry solution from Cimcorp for e-commerce and item picking or low volume case picking. One of the unique aspects of the system is our ability to access any tote in the grid, even though when you look on the photo there, you see a very dense grid and you see potentially a crate on the bottom of that stack that you want. We don't have to dig for that SKU. The picking head comes with a shuttle on the back of it where it can slide over top of the entire column, pick up wherever in that column you want that crate, separate that crate from the rest of the stack, put it on the shuttle, and that shuttle takes it to a station where an operator can then interact with it and pick out whatever case or item they want out of that crate and return it to the grid. So that whole process of traveling and picking a crate and delivering it to a station, depending a little bit the conveyor system that goes along with this, something like 15 seconds, 20 seconds, that crate will be at an operator station for somebody to pick. And same idea. There's no racking. We're flexible with the tote size. We can help you design a tote for your operation, but the whole idea is you put the product, even if it's case picked, you put it into a returnable or a reusable plastic crate. But unlike the multi-pick solution that goes to stores typically, these crates are captive in the system. Okay, but you're not limited to a certain crate size that we tell you. You can buy something on the market that's suitable for your operation, and most often we can handle that crate, and even offer some suggestions depending on the application, what you want to put into it, case sizes, item sizes, and things like that. We can work with you to design a tote or pick a tote that's freely available on the market. Okay, so that's our goods to person solution. And finally, we have layer picking. Layer picking is typically going to customers that are manufacturers or 3PLs that are shipping the output of that facility to their customers' DC, like a Walmart DC, for example. A lot of the layer pick pallets that leave our system eventually end up at a Walmart DC that then goes to another picking operation before it gets to the store. In terms of volume, there's a lot of facilities doing some sort of layer picking out there, but same idea to give you a sense of the critical mass of volume to go through a facility where you could have a reasonable business case is something like 1,000 layers a day picked. Multiple shifts, ideally, being able to pick. We're finding, especially in this layer of the supply chain where these are manufactured DCs shipping to other DCs, usually we're finding 24 or 48-hour lead times, which sometimes means or often means you can spread the picking over multiple hours a day, which will only help with the ROI. That being said, we do have some examples of customers, and we've got one in the beer distribution industry. One of the big benefits that they saw and one of the big drivers for the project is they were currently working with a 48-hour order lead time before when they had to have it picked and out the door. They had 2 days to pick it. They were looking to service their customers a little bit better. And with our system, they immediately went to 24 hours. And since then, they've picked a time in the middle of the day as an order cutoff for next day delivery. Okay, some considerations with the equipment here is the end effector can be clamp only. So the picture you see here is just regular corrugate sealed cases. These are full of hair care products, so shampoo, conditioner, things like that. Fairly solid boxes. If you can clamp them, we've got a clamp only feature. If there's a lot of product with shrink wrap or open trays, for example, which is what we found in the beer industry, is a lot of open trays with cans in them. We have a vacuum and a vacuum module that fits inside the clamp, so we can use both technologies together to pick up a very wide variety of products. In fact, there's very few products on the market, especially in North America, that we found that is not suitable for layer picking, at least technically layer picking. Similar sort of limitations on the frame size as the multi-pick gantry robot. We can go a little bit wider, up to about 55 feet wide. Really, it's meant to fit inside a column bay, and about 300 feet long. Most of the customers will use this solution, this kind of technology, for putting inventory pallets on the floor and then picking from those inventory pallets to customer order pallet that, when completed, goes through a wrapper and a labeler and then can go to the dock. That's suitable for something like up to 500 SKUs. After 500 SKUs, so someone, a distributor like maybe food service or something like that, that's got, or a 3PL with a lot more SKUs than that, there is another way to operate the system where you kind of reverse that logic, right? Where instead of inventory pallets on the floor, in this photo that you're looking at, consider that those could be order pallets. And then you bring in inventory pallets one by one as you need them to fulfill orders. The robot will pick them off the conveyor in the middle of the system and then distribute those layers around the grid to the order pallet. And then when the order pallet is complete, the robot can pick it up in a single lift using a special system pallet that we provide to take it to an outfeed system that then can be wrapped and labeled. So flexible ways to do the order picking in this sense. Same sort of benefits as before, especially I want to call attention to the errors and damage. Again, the robot won't make mistakes on picking and picking instructions, but damage especially. I find a lot of the facilities I go to and see how its product is being manually handled, a lot of damage, surprisingly amount of damage in a lot of the facilities I go to. The robot's very gentle on the product. Even though it does squeeze, it's got a variable torque feature on the clamps where you can set it by SKU. So if you've got a case of beer and then a case of toilet paper, the amount of force we use on those two different products can vary quite a bit. So you're not crushing the toilet paper, for example, and then dropping the layers of beer. Also, by using the vacuum, it's even more gentle on the product that way. Where you can use clamp only, one of the best features of this layer pick system that we've got here is the ability to pick multiple layers at a time. In some cases, like this example here with the hair care product, we're picking an entire unit load at a time, and that's how we do replenishment in this case. However, if a line item for a customer order requires 3 or 4 layers, we can often do that in a single pick. So you can really accelerate the amount of throughput going to the systems with that feature, depending on the package size that you have. Okay, so that's our layer picking solution. And this more or less concludes our presentation. We want to leave you with the impression that these the solutions that we're offering the market, we really try to focus on solutions and put a premium on 24/7 operations, minimizing lead time, and solutions that are modular and scalable. We think fits especially well for the North American marketplace. But I suppose ultimately what we want to be able to offer our customers is the ability for our customers to be able to offer their customers better customer service. So by whether that's faster delivery time, less errors, or ultimately a more economical solution for their customers, that's what we try to enable with our company and our solutions. Okay, so that concludes the presentation. Here are the contacts again. If you scan those QR codes, it'll take you to a landing page on both websites there where you can immediately find some more information. But we're happy to take any questions this time.
Great. Thank you, Derek. Nice job. It is time to move on to our question and answer session, and you still do have time to get your questions to us. Just go ahead and submit that into the question box. We'll get to as many of those as we can. And as Derek just mentioned, there are some resources available to you. You see the couple of snap a shot QR codes on your screen that can take you to those resources, as well as you also have a resources tab on your console that you can go to. And in that tab, you'll see some additional information, as well as you can download a PDF of the slides that we used today in our presentation. So take advantage of those resources and opportunities that are available for you. Now it's time to move to our question section here. So the first question is going to be directed at Jason. And Jason, how would these system solutions help me get orders out the door accurately? How do you respond to that?
Thanks, Dave. That's a great question. So one of the things to think about is warehousing effectiveness depends on kind of the accuracy of physical inventory to the warehouse with respect to the inventory that you have, right? So as far as speed to find it, speed to get it, speed to process it, speed to have it at the dock, right? So the automation would help with all of those steps to where your individual could find exactly what they want and have it delivered to a spot in a matter of seconds, which may have taken hours earlier by a variety of manual processes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Our next question comes to us from John, and I guess this is directed to both of you gentlemen. How technically qualified do the operators of the machinery that we saw today, how technically qualified do they have to be to operate it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, that's actually a very good question. What we find anyways at Cimcorp is most times, if not all the time, our customers end up where they've got a manual picking system today. They'll pick some of those operators into the automation operators. So they don't, as an operator, they don't have to be very technically savvy. We usually say something like a high school education and someone who's willing to, learn a HMI would be suitable. Now that's not to say you don't need some better expertise than that when it comes to some of the maintenance activities. You'll often need someone with a mechanical or electrical background there. But as an operator, nothing terribly special.
So for operations, fairly simple then. Please, yes, Derek.
Jason. I was going to add, Dave, that Derek mentioned the HMI or the user interface that manages the automation. Usually are very user-friendly, easy screens to manage, relatively simple and hands-off for most operators. So it isn't, and everything that gets installed is with a level of training, so your operators can feel confident and competent to manage that equipment.
Very good. Thank you, Jason. Our next question is directed to Derek. what packaging type or weight limitations are there for the layer pick system that you talked about a moment ago?
Yeah, one of the things I mentioned on the slide was in the systems that we've delivered to date, or even experimented with over the years. We've been doing this product for this is 11 years now. We've been making this product. We're not finding a lot of products that we're not able to handle. It was specifically made for that reason. So in terms of a layer weight, when it's a layer pick only type machine versus a system that's been designed to handle an entire pallet load, we say 560 kilograms would be a layer maximum. So that's over 1,000 pounds. That's like 1,200 pounds for a layer only. We're not really finding anything that's come up against that limitation. In terms of when we have to do a pallet lift, when I talked about reversing the logic on these layer pick systems and having customer pallets built on the floor and then lifted and taken to an outfeed, in that case, we do have to lift an entire pallet load at a time. So we've got a capacity of 1 ton there. So 2,200 pounds, 1,000 kilos.
Very good. Next question has come in. We've talked about a number of different pieces of machinery today and systems. And the question is this machinery manufactured in Japan or the United States?
Well, I can speak.
Or does it depend on the system?
Yeah, it depends on the system. I can speak for the storage solutions are manufactured in Japan, and our AGV solutions are in Japan and Europe. We don't do none of those are manufactured in the United States.
Okay. How does that affect, I guess as a follow-up question, how does that affect availability of both the systems and the parts, or the implementation time for installing a system, or also getting replacement parts? Are those U.S.-based?
Great question. Yeah, great question. All of the implementation team, the support, service, parts, that's all in the United States.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. Let me see another question here. And this is going to go to Jason. Are these systems adaptable in different environments, like a cold, frozen, chilled, hot environment? Are they able to work in a lot of different environments and temperature ranges?
That's another great question. And it depends on the technology, but generally the material movement solutions that we talked about, the AGVs and the rail guided, are adaptable in ambient temperatures, refrigerated and frozen. Some of them can go outdoors or indoors, really very flexible on the environment. From a storage standpoint, really looking at not all indoors, but still very flexible from temperature ranges. And I'll kick that over to Derek for their technologies as well.
Yeah, for Cimcorp, the layer picker will go into to basically any environment, including down to a freezer. The multi-pick, the basket picking technology will go as low as freezing, so a cooler.
Good. So fairly good range on all the systems. Yeah. We want to remind you, we do have the contact information on the screen if you'd like additional resources, and also check out that resources tab as well. We do have time for just a couple more questions. You still have time to get those questions in, so please do so. Our next question is going to go to Jason. We know that expense to automate is a huge long-term investment for someone, for a company to be able to put in some of this automation. So what else should be considered when evaluating the return on that investment?
Another very good question, and applies to all companies. So some key things to think about when you're really trying to figure out, is automation right for my organization? Space utilization, uptime, labor reduction or repurposing, and then maybe some softer things that might be a little harder to quantify, like order accuracy or damage to orders that you have at the moment. Product integrity, and then get a little bit deeper into that, some sort of facility benefits such as energy consumption, or or that optimization of space, or doing multiple tasks in the same facility. And then also your labor force is another key thing. Do you have growing or reducing amount of talent available in your area? Do you have a maintenance team to continue with a lot of manual processes, or do you need, or would automation help with all of those things?
Very good. I think we've come to the end of our time available today. So again, I'd like to thank everybody for being a part of this. Shortly after our live event here, we will send you an email reminder to access this presentation so you can see it on demand again, or share with a colleague, again, in an on-demand version. And thanks again to our presenters, again, Jason Stahl, and also Derek Rickard, for a very informative session. Again, we encourage you to find out more information on the topics we discussed today. Check out that resources tab, and also go to their individual websites to find out more. So thanks again for Murata and Cimcorp for their sponsorship today. And thank you for sharing your time with us today as well. We know that your time is very valuable. We hope that you walked away with some good ideas to help you better manage your facilities and your supply chains. For all of us at DC Velocity, I'm David Maloney. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great day.